Back, guys. Indeed we have. So we've managed to locate what looks like one of the Styx Lionesses. It looks like the younger female, and she is absolutely full-bellied. It looks like she's had a really good meal last night. So she's just lying in the middle of the road at this stage. It looks like she's, like I say, consumed something during the night. You can see the size of that belly that's swelling out. When we arrived, there was actually an impala that was busy staring at her, and she made absolutely no attempt to even go anywhere near it. And the impala was probably not even 10 meters away from her at the time. You can actually hear the impala alarm calling now behind us. But she has definitely had quite a big meal. As far as I know, yesterday, all 3 lionesses and the 2 cubs were together. So I'm not sure where the others are. Maybe they're still finishing off whatever they managed to kill last night. At the end of the day, there could be a meal maybe not too far from here. Maybe the rest of the lionesses and the cubs are still there. So once we're done here, we will go and have a look around and see if we can maybe locate on the rest of the pride. But yeah, she is a very content girl. Can imagine with a nice big full belly. I'm sure she's very happy that it's nice and cloudy and overcast. This cool breeze means that she's not going to be too hot. You can see she's still breathing quite heavily with that massive tummy of hers. It'll be pushing up on those lungs, making her draw shorter breaths, as well as there'll still be a bit of heat that's building up because of the amount of food that's inside her and the amount of protein that's having to be broken down. So some of the viewers are commenting that her belly looks like it's about to explode, and it does indeed. It's absolutely massive. So whatever she had, it was a good meal. When we first arrived and we saw the impala sitting right near her and staring at her, I thought it's possible maybe she had caught the impala's lamb and had it somewhere here. But I don't see any sign of a carcass anywhere near us. And the impala has run off anyway, so it doesn't seem too distraught. It wasn't alarm calling excessively like they would do had it killed the lamb for that impala. So I'm sure they've had... Okay, we're going to go back to James because I believe the lines that he's got are calling, so we're going to quickly go across to them. Welcome back, guys. I believe James has been chatting to you about inkahumas and Styx and who's who and whether or not these 2 lionesses are possibly related. And as far as I can see, this is most definitely one of the Styx Pride members. I'm sure the ones calling up in the north must be the inkahumas, because every time they call, she pops her head up to listen to what's going on up there, and she kind of has a very intent look as she stares up at the lions that are calling to the north of us. So I'm pretty sure she comes from the Styx Pride. I did do a little loop quickly while you guys were with James to see if there was any sign of the rest of them or if the cubs were around. I had a look to see. We had some vultures that were in a tree, but unfortunately we didn't find anything. I also didn't see any tracks of the cubs or the rest of the pride. It's just her tracks that come down the road into this area. So it's possible that she's left the rest of them on a carcass further afield, but we didn't manage to locate anything. And unfortunately, after heavy rains that we had last night, the one road that she came down is a road that we cannot drive this morning due to those heavy rains. It's a little bit too soft and mushy, so it's not going to be able to be driven. And so maybe they're sitting on that road somewhere. I will try go a little bit further north of that area and just check. Maybe they're somewhere up at the top there, but I didn't see any signs of the cubs or the other 2 females. But you can see she's gone from flat to kind of sitting up and quite alert as to what's going on. She's starting to kind of fall asleep again now. As that audio was coming out, she bolted up and was listening very intently to what was going on. I don't think she's going to be sitting in the road for much longer. It's just starting to drizzle a little bit now, and cats typically are not very fond of rain or water, and so you'll probably find that she'll move herself into a little thicket somewhere just to get out of the rain. For now, she's just probably enjoying the nice openness of the road. It also, they like to lie on the roads, particularly when it's cool like this, just because there's no parasites or ticks or anything that could be getting onto her. When she lies in deep, thick grass, often you'll find a case that ticks and mites and all kinds of things crawl on her while she's there. So it's better for her to be on the road while it's still nice and cool. But like I say, given that the rain is starting to fall, I'm sure she's going to get up and start moving into these thicker areas around us and try and just hide out from that rain. Now, the reason why we know that this is one of the Styx females is a little bit earlier when we were looking at her belly. I don't know if any of you noticed that her belly was almost looked like some of her fur was missing. So this particular pride has struggled a little bit with mange, which is a mite that gets into the hair follicles and causes them to really itch, and they scratch them to the point where they lose a lot of their fur. And so it's one of the IDing features of this pride at the moment is that a lot of them are still recovering from that. Now that we've had a bit of rain and a lot more kind of moisture in the air, the mite doesn't populate nearly as well. And so they're all on the mend, they're all recovering. Prior to the rains falling, the 3 lionesses had quite severe breakouts around the face and on the stomach. But she's getting a lot better now. You can see the hair on the stomach is starting to grow back quite nicely. You can see she's got a little scar on her right side of her leg there, which would have been from probably fighting with one another over a carcass. So John in Connecticut would like to know how long it will take for her to digest this meal. Now, probably in all likelihood, she'll be digesting for the next sort of 2 days. She is very, very, very full, but you'll be surprised by this afternoon if we come and try and find her again. You'll see that that stomach is way, way, way down. So they do digest it quite quickly. But in terms of needing another meal, she will probably even be able to go as much as a week to 10 days before she'll be needing another meal. Lionesses are obviously opportunistic, and so she could potentially hunt before then. But in terms of digesting, by tomorrow this time, you'll find that that stomach will be way, way, way down, and it will look as though she hasn't eaten a big meal at all in the last day or two. So it will take a while for her to digest during the day today, but by tomorrow she should look pretty normal again. So Terry in Michigan would like to know, is she not concerned about being in the open by herself? The thing about a lioness, or lions in general, is that they are the apex predator out here. So they are really the ones that dominate and control and kind of dictate what goes on in the predator world. And so for her, she feels completely at home where she is right now. She knows that she's had a big meal, so she doesn't need to be camouflaged or concealed in any way. As long as she's can find an area where she can just rest and be able to see what's going on around her, she's more than comfortable. If she wasn't full-bellied like she is now, then potentially she might try and find somewhere where she can conceal herself a lot better and be able to then conceal for hunting reasons. But in this case, being so full, she doesn't need to conceal herself for hunting. And at the end of the day, she's also right in the middle of her territory, so she feels very comfortable in that this is an area that she can roam around in that would be free of other females. The Nkahuma pride does sometimes come down here, but very, very seldom. So this is more the area that the Styx dominate, and so being an adult lioness that's part of that, she'll be very, very relaxed in the fact that she's here, and she doesn't need to worry about concealing herself too much at all. Alright guys, so while we sit here and just see if maybe the rest of the pride will pop out, let's go back to James and see what's happening with the Birminghams and see what they're up to. Turning her head over and facing northwest, which is where she came from, so I'm kind of hoping that maybe, I haven't heard anything, but possibly the rest of the pride may be contact calling from that side, and hopefully she might get up and start moving and potentially taking us to the rest of the pride, which would be really, really nice if she did. At this stage, they're still kind of sitting in the middle of the road and obstructing traffic at this stage. She is sitting on one of the main roads at the moment, so quite a few vehicles that are trying to get past her to get in and out to take staff and various things. So she's causing quite a spectacle this morning, and rightly so. She's a magnificent, magnificent cat. She's one of the most beautiful lions of the Styx. Like I said, it looks like the younger one of the three. I might be wrong. I don't know if some of the viewers maybe can get an idea as to which one she is, but it does look like the youngest of the three. I haven't actually seen much of the Styx recently. They've been spending quite a bit of time in the southern parts of this area and into Mala Mala. And so the last time I saw them was actually a few months ago, and they really have come on in terms of what they look like. They're in much better condition than what they were at the end of August, September, when they were looking quite mangy at that stage. So Eric, all the way from Canada, would like to know how far lions travel away from their pride. Now, Eric, it's obviously a kind of debatable issue, and it depends on the situation. Sometimes they'll move quite big distances, particularly if they're going to mate. You'll find that they'll go way out of their territory to go and find males that are on the fringes of their territory. And the reason why is because obviously when they're mating, they know that males potentially could be a threat to their cubs later. And so what they do is they go and mate with males all on the fringes, and they basically fool the males that they are going to be the fathers. And if that male then becomes dominant over their area once she gives birth, that male will be fooled into thinking it's his cubs and therefore not kill the cubs. All right, so you know, they can stray quite far. I have seen lionesses that are 10, 11, 12 kilometers away from their pride, but generally not too far. They generally kind of just go a little bit, and it's normally to go and investigate something. So it could be something like other lions calling. It might be that they want to go and just mark territory. And at the moment, because this pride, one of the females does have cubs, it means that the cubs obviously are not as mobile as the adults, and so they're not moving nearly as much as they normally would, and therefore, you know, some of the lionesses get a little bit kind of ants in their pants syndrome, and they want to move around a little bit more. They want to go check their territory, go and mark, and make sure that other females are not moving into their area while they've been in one place with the cubs. So you do find that they move away from them, but generally not too far. So you can see she perks up a little bit when some of the vehicles arrive. We are obviously in an area where there are commercial game lodges, and a couple people that would like to come and see her this morning. So we have a few vehicles that have joined us just to come and get a look in and to see her. And like I say, you can imagine for those people that are here that it's an incredible moment to be able to come across a wild lion in the middle of the road, nice and open. So lots of thrilled people on the back of some of the vehicles that I can see from where I am. But you can see how perfectly camouflaged she is. If you have a look at the coloration of the sand on the road, and you see her tawny coloration, you can see she actually blends very, very well. And I've seen lions often using roads to hunt. You would think it would be somewhere where they would be really exposed, but when they flatten themselves right down, particularly on an edge of a road, you can just see to the right of her there's a slight little curve up towards the grass, and they flatten themselves there, and any animal that approaches from that grassy area often doesn't see them at all, and then from there they can launch their attack. So they are perfectly designed to blend in with their environment and to be able to ambush these prey animals that potentially could be in this area. So I do believe that this female has been mating as well, which could also be a reason that she's separating from the pride. Often after they've mated, or if they are in the process of mating, they come into these estrus cycles and they hear the males calling and they start going to look for the males. And obviously this morning we know that James is sitting with the Birminghams that are calling, and so maybe she heard those males and was starting to make her way there, and then heard one of the females from the Nkuhumas calling and has decided better of it. Ultimately, if she goes into that area and the Nkuhuma females are there, then potentially she could get into a lot of trouble. Being one lioness against a pride of 5, she would get herself into all kinds of strife. So probably that's why she's slowed down and kind of ended up sitting here just to listen and to see what's going on. So Mary would like to know, because she's so big, is it possible that she's not only full, but she might also be pregnant? Mary, it's very, very possible. It could be that she might be pregnant. When she was on her side, though, her teats are not swollen in any way. There's no milk that seems to be developing in the teats just yet. And at the end of the day, just the swelling of that belly, it will be much easier to tell if she stands up, but it just looks like it's a very kind of even swell. So what you find is when they're fed very heavily and they're pregnant, is their bellies tend to have an unevenness to it. So there's the swelling from the food and then where the cubs are sitting, and so it kind of has a little bit more of a bump. So you can see sometimes where they are pregnant. In this case, I don't think she's pregnant. I think it's just food, but it is possible. It might be the very beginning stages of her being pregnant, which would be really, really exciting for us, and it would be really nice if she is pregnant. I really hope with the Styx Pride that they start to come back from the issues that they've had. I was actually just telling Dave that when I first came into this area and first saw the Styx Pride, there was 11 of them in the Pride. And slowly but surely they've kind of been whittled down, and now we're just left with these 3 females. So I'm really hoping that they have a good run this summer, and that the remaining 2 females also have cubs, and they start to produce, and the Pride then starts to grow again. They've had a very tough few years with lots of male changeovers, lots of different male coalitions that have come in, which have been not easy to manage. And then they've had also a few issues with, like I say, with mange and things like that. So it's been a really tough few years for the Styx Pride. And they are one of the oldest prides within the Sabi Sand area. You know, they were one of the first prides that was kind of followed and viewed all the way back in the 80s when Mala Mala first opened. And so they have a rich history in this area, and it would be very sad to see if the pride kind of whittled down and eventually disappeared. So I'm really hoping that they're able to bounce back and their numbers start to come up again, and the pride becomes nice and strong and healthy again. So Shannon in Ohio would like to know if a female lion has ever killed a male lion. Well, Shannon, as far as I know, not. I've never heard of it. I have heard of multiple females attacking male lions, but I must be honest, I've never heard of a male actually being killed by females. I suppose it could be possible if a young male arrived at a pride that had multiple females and they were slightly older and those females all attacked in unison, then potentially yes, that could happen. But as far as I know, one-on-one, the male is just too big and too strong. It would just really never be a successful thing for a female. She'll get hurt very, very quickly. So I don't think she would even attempt it. But like I said, numbers is always the game out here. So it's the same with hyenas and other predators. If they can mass more numbers in the lions, then sometimes they can overpower them. And in this case, if you've got a whole bunch of females against one male, then potentially, yes, they could do some damage to him and injure him enough to kill him. But I have never heard of it, and I don't know if there are any recorded cases. I will have a look and research it, and hopefully you'll join us this afternoon, and I'll be able to then give you a more precise answer if there has been any recorded cases of a lioness killing a male lion. But as far as I know, it's not that I've heard of. I have seen lionesses be very, very bold towards males, and it's generally when they're in protection of their cubs or a food item, and they'll try and kind of really front up to the males and push them away. But ultimately, when the males get aggressive and they really start to come at these females, the females have no chance. They, like I say, are much, much lighter animals, far less bulky. They also don't have that mane that protects the throat and chest areas. And so for a lioness, she's far more exposed than what a male is. And so when a male attacks her, she's going to end up with far bigger wounds than what he would. And so normally they just get up and go and try and run away from it. So while we sit here with her and see if she'll get up and maybe move and take us towards the others, we're going to go to Byron, who's set himself up in the tent this morning, and hopefully he'll have some weird and wonderful things to show you guys. Welcome back, guys, and look at what's happened since you've been gone. The lioness got up and she walked and started calling, and out of the bush popped the other female with the 2 little cubs. And aren't they the cutest little things? They're looking a little bit sorry for themselves. I think they're a bit drenched with the rain, but so excited. So a little bit of patience paid off in terms of being able to get to see the little cubs. I don't know where the other female is. They're still looking into this bush and still contact calling a little bit. So I think the others are, maybe the other one is still somewhere close by. But isn't that a beautiful sight, eh? With the two females, and there the little cubs now coming as well. See the one between the legs there. Listen to them. Isn't that sweet, eh, guys? A little bit of grooming. Little cubs coming to say hello to their aunt. And lots of vocalizing. Very, very, very cool. And massive bellies, which means that they've all had a really good meal. And to feed two big adult lionesses like this, as well as the little cubs, as you can see them waddling away there, and the third lioness, which will hopefully join as well, will mean that these guys have had something quite big to eat. Alright, so I would imagine something at least the size of a kudu maybe. That's probably what they've gone after, or maybe even a young buffalo somewhere that they caught during the night. Last night was absolutely optimal conditions for hunting. It was the perfect way to go. Nice and dark, lots of rain, which would have confused all the prey animals. So a lot of the predators would have been very successful in hunting last night, and it seems our lionesses were just as successful as we thought they might be. Looks like they're all going to settle down on the road now, which is really quite nice. I'm going to just try and loop around a little bit so we can get the mom and the little cubs interacting there. So just give me a second. I also just need to let one vehicle know that's trying to find us that we are back on the road here. So, is there any station in the west? Copy. Yeah, whichever station's trying to find the Styx, they're back on Triple M North. It's two Mafazis and two Mantwans now. Just gonna go around. So we're just gonna get around here quickly. So there we go, guys. Managed. So Miss Sky would like to know, are these new cubs and how old they are? They are the newest cubs for the Styx Pride. They are now, just trying to remember, they were born in September, I think, somewhere around there. I'll just have to check. But they were born in somewhere in that area. So that would make them now approaching 4 to 5 months old. So still quite small, as you can see. And look at the size of those little fat bellies. Aren't they the cutest little things? I think they're even battling to walk. They're almost waddling like penguins at this stage. And there's a few cries here and there. And that's often they cry like that when they want a bit of milk. So they want the mother to lie down and to rest, and they can then start suckling from their mother. You would think with such full bellies that they wouldn't really want milk, but sometimes after eating a bit of meat, it's nice to kind of wash it down with a bit of mom's milk, and then after that it's going to be nap time for sure. But I see the mother has just gone off into the bush here. I'm sure the rain is starting to get a little heavier now, so I'm sure they're going to try and find somewhere just to shelter. The other female that was with them is completely passed out. She's gone absolutely flat now that she's found the others. She's fast asleep down the road. And the other little cub is just moving off to mom now as well. What a wonderful morning we're having with lions, eh, guys? From no lions the last 3-4 drives to 2 different sets of lions, and in both really interesting sightings, from the Birminghams and the Inkahumas vocalizing on their buffalo kill to these Styx with the little cubs. What a magical morning it's been so far. See, she's popped her head up again, just looking into that bush, where she kind of came from with the others. So Reese would like to know if lion color is genetic within a pride, and if that's the reason why the Styx pride is slightly lighter in color. Reese, it's not genetic within a pride itself. If you actually have a look now at these two lionesses, you'll see the one lying on the road is slightly lighter than the female that is standing up. So they do have different colors. It's much like us as people. Every single lion will have a slightly different tone to them. So they are completely unique within each individual. So it's not a pride thing. And it's really just about an individual basis. But they are looking so good. I'm so thrilled that these guys are looking as good as they are. They've really put on a lot of weight. They've got the mange under control now. The little cubs are looking healthy. So all looks really, really good for the future for them. I believe a lot of you are loving the waddle of these little lion cubs and their stomachs, and I can't agree more. They are very, very cute. Like I say, they look like little penguins bouncing around on the road here. Kind of tummies bigger than the legs at this stage. So they've just come in behind us now. Like I said, the other lioness is still busy watching and looking for the third female. I'm sure she's probably not far away. Maybe she's finishing up the last of those remains. Like I say, when we followed her, she went into this big, deep thicket, and she started calling, and these three came out, the female with the little cubs. So I'm sure the other one is somewhere inside there. We didn't manage to locate any kill or carcass, but I would imagine it was somewhere in this thick bush to our west. And isn't that sweet there? Look at how they're cuddling up to Mom. The one's almost using Mom as an umbrella. Keeps going in underneath her. I wonder if she's just trying to get out of the rain by using Mom. And they look as though they're not quite sure where they really want to go at this stage. The female is very up and down. She's pacing back and forth and going in different directions. I'm sure she's trying to find this third female to be able to see where she is. To admit, little lion cubs and the squeaks that they make are possibly one of my most favorite sounds. They make these little grunts and squeaks, and it seems like they're having a full-on conversation with themselves, which is very, very cute. Alright guys, so while we sit with these guys and see what they get up to, we're going to go back to James and just see what his lions are doing and what the Birminghams and Nkuhumas have gotten up to in the last little bit.